again. It is always a humbling task to compose a graduation speech. Humbling because you can throw your life into it. But there's this stiff, cold reality that people probably aren't going to remember a darn thing. In my first year of teaching, we had a U.S. Senator speak to our students. It was considered a great honor and that he was coming to our school, and many were very, very excited. And let me just enshroud this person's identity and anonymity by saying this was over 2 decades ago, and it was in another state. Anyway, I was seated in the audience with my notebook ready. Remember those notebooks that Jester gave you on Thursday night? Yep. Yeah, it was just like that. And I was pen in hand at the ready to receive his insight and wisdom. And he said he wanted to offer 6 items of advice. And he was at the end of his career. So I was thinking, this is the sage come down from the mountaintop. And so I was ready. Now, let's go deep. Let's hear it. Bring it, Senator. And I don't remember number 1 of his 6 pieces of advice. Because remember, people don't remember graduation speeches. But I do, in fact, remember number 2. Number 2 was, in your mind, you should try to think, what was number 2? Number 2 was, brush your teeth. And I also remember number 6. Just try to guess what number 6 was. Number 6 was, brush your teeth. Which he said as he had the first time around without any apparent sense of humor or irony. I remember looking up from my notebook thinking, that's all you got, man? But before I get too uppity and poke disparagingly at that, I have to admit this. I still remember number 2 and number 6. And I have forgotten items 1, 3, 4, and 5. And I have to remember this and admit this. I still brush my teeth. And guess what? I brush them twice a day. So thank you, Senator Anonymous from the great state of, I'm not saying. And just in case my short speech is shortly forgotten, to give myself a little insurance policy, I'll go ahead and say, graduates, brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. You're welcome. But sticking with the possibility that 2 things might potentially be memorable in graduation speech, I would like to offer you seniors 2 scenes. Not 2 pieces of advice, but 2 scenes that I hope might stay with you. 2 scenes that I think offer something worthwhile. The first comes from a book I was reading at the beginning of this year. And when I read it, I knew right away I wanted to share it with you. I even thought I might do, tape it to the bottom of your chairs like Oprah does, and that way you'd all have it right there. And that just seemed a little gimmicky. But in this book, Bryant Stevenson recounts growing up in rural Delaware where he didn't know a lawyer and he didn't even know what lawyers did. But one day, later in life, he found himself as a student at Harvard Law School, which is a good law school. And he became someone who works for people on death row who've been falsely accused or were convicted as children or who are intellectually disabled. And his is tough work because when he loses a case, his clients die. One client who had an intellectual disability was named Jimmy Dill, and Stevenson had worked really close with him over the years. But Mr. Dill had eventually exhausted all of his appeals. And on the night of his execution, he spoke with Bryant Stevenson by phone, and he closed their conversation with, Mr. Bryant, I just want to thank you for fighting for me. I thank you for caring about me. I love y'all for trying to save me. When he got off the phone, Stevenson says he had a wet face and a broken heart. He was exhausted and broken. And he looked around his office at all the files and case records, and he was done. And he said to himself, it's time to stop. I can't do this anymore. Here's what he says. It's a little long, but bear with me. For the first time, I realized that my life was just full of brokenness. I worked in a broken system of justice. My clients were broken by mental illness, poverty, and racism. They were torn apart by disease, drugs, and alcohol, pride, fear, and anger. I looked at my computer and at the calendar on the wall. I looked around my office at the stacks of files. I saw the list of our staff, which had grown to nearly 40 people. And before I knew it, I was talking to myself aloud. I can just leave. Why am I doing this? It took me a while to sort it out, but I realized something sitting there while Jimmy Dill was being killed at home in prison. After working for more than 25 years, I understood that I don't do what I do because it's required or necessary or important. I don't do it because I have no choice. I do what I do because I'm broken too. He continues, we are all broken by something. We've all hurt someone and have been hurt. We all share the condition of brokenness, even if our brokenness is not equivalent. The ways in which I have been hurt and have hurt others are different from the ways that Jimmy Dill suffered and caused suffering. But our shared brokenness connected us. The theologian Thomas Merton said, we are bodies of broken bones. I guess I'd always known, but never fully considered that being broken is what makes us human. We all have our reasons. Sometimes we're fractured by the choices we make. Sometimes we're shattered by things we would never have chosen. But our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity, the basis for our shared search for comfort, meaning, and healing. Our shared vulnerability and imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion. We have a choice. We can embrace our humanness, which means embracing our broken natures and the compassion that remains our best hope for healing, or we can deny our brokenness, forswear compassion, and as a result, deny our own humanity. And Stevenson then continues to think about various clients he's served over the years and counseled, and so often reminding them that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. And he closes with this. I told myself that evening what I've been telling my clients for years. I am more than broken. In fact, there is a strength even, a power even, in understanding brokenness, because embracing our brokenness creates a need and desire for mercy, and perhaps a corresponding need to show mercy. When you experience mercy, you learn things that are hard to learn otherwise. You see things you can't otherwise see. You hear things you can't otherwise hear. You begin to recognize the humanity that resides in each of us. And he concludes that section with just this one short sentence. All of a sudden, I felt stronger. And I love that final word, stronger. So that's the first scene. Bryant Stevenson in his office late at night, ready to give it all up. Realizing that brokenness is a shared experience and recognizing that it is potentially a source of strength, of empowerment. The second scene, it's an airport scene. It's a flight delayed at the airport, everyone getting antsy and impatient scene. And the scene is captured by poet Naomi Shihab Nye, who was there. And my apologies to the faculty with whom I shared this passage in October. Here's her recounting of the scene at the airport. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been detained 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate 4A understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate 4A was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing loudly. Help, said the flight service person. Talk to her, what is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke to her haltingly. Shudawa, Shubita, Kabiti, Stanishwe min Fadlak, Shubitsui. The minute she heard any word she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "You're fine. You'll get there. Who is picking you up? Let's call them." We called her son, and I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and would ride next to her. It was Southwest. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for fun. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up about 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling about her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, out of her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out the free beverages from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving us all apple juice. And they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag. Some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country traveling tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in. A shared world. Not a single person in this gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. Seniors, to me the most powerful word in the Woods mission statement is the word empower. We want you to be truly empowered. Not strutting a false strength that denies brokenness, but real strength, drawn from a real understanding of our shared brokenness. Because we need your strength at work in the world. We yearn for a shared world, and we ask that you go forth in the belief that real strength and big love can make it so. This can still happen anywhere. Thank you.